Hello guys, I'm Ethan from Warwick. So yeah, this is my first vlog, so forgive me for any mistakes. So today we're gonna talk about the Ls3 the speaker. It's a BBC's mini monitor. So just in case you don't really know about the Ls3, it's I presume you know the Ls3A little monitor speakers. They're from England, the BBC Kingswood Warren, like R&D. So basically, back then they made the LS35 prototype speakers, but apparently Kef changed their speaker units, which cause the R&D they need to remake everything because the change of driver units basically introduce coloration to the sound. So yeah, I'd show you some specifications about it. I'll still put what you need down there. So you see, this is no spec papers I got from BBC department. It's long buried, but somehow I found them. These little papers. Oh yeah. About the LS35, the differences between it and the LS35A, I'd say the most significant. The first thing you would notice is it's slightly smaller due to it using 9mm birch plywood, because the LS35A actually using 12mm plywood on the tops, the sides, but if I weren't wrong, it still uses 9.5mm plywood for the baffles probably, but the LS35 is strictly 9mm birch plywood. And yeah, the second apparent thing that's different is probably the driver units, because back then Kef decided to change their units. So it's still the Kef T27 and B110, but the ones that were used, if I weren't wrong, the T27 was the A6340 something, and the B110 was something like A6362 something. But since they developed the LS35A, they used the new units called the T27, which is the SP1032, and the B110, which is SP1003. And yeah, feel free to correct me because I don't really remember. So give me a second. I'm gonna show you what an LS35 T27 looks like. So I got this from eBay. Not the fanciest of packings, but decent. So a T27 from that era should look something like this. The white so-called Mylar dome. T27. So as you see, instead of having an impedance of 8 ohms shown, it has an impedance of so-called 4 to 8 ohms. And yeah, this little felt pad. Yeah. And that's pretty much it for the top. And for the base, I would entertain you with a B110 heavy. So the distinct feature, the T27 is really observable, because apparently you can see how much it has changed. The T27 has transferred from a Mylar dome to a black little plastic thingy, and the little wires, you could see it in the newer one, but not the old one. And yeah, I got B110 on here. Yeah. I need to focus. The old B110 they use, if you look closely, yeah, it's a Parker 51, trusty ones. If you take a look at here, give me a minute. If you take a look here, you could see the wires being exposed. It indicates it's an early version, and beware that this B110 is actually the magnet part is larger. It's larger than the new one. So yeah, distinct feature is here because the newer B110s, they've got a little cross, a little cross thing here, but and they don't really have these little screws, but you can see it here. You've got 3 Phillips screws. Yeah. Is there anything special? I don't think so. They did use this XLR. Yeah. You do have to note this because the BBC were really fond of using XLR plugs for the Ls3 5As. So, just in case you're thinking of building a pair of Ls3 5s, that will be on your checklist. A pair of give me a minute. If you want to build the Ls3 5, and you're a purist, I'd say you'd stick to the ITT Canon XLR, but I can't really find any, so didn't care for me. Couldn't care less. I did get a pair of new trick ones, vintage ones. Good. Yeah, that's pretty much my stock for my new Ls3 5A I'm gonna do, so do it later. Oh dear. So, this is gonna be tricky because I didn't print it out. So, the Ls3 5... Yeah, the Ls3-5's cabinet is actually different from the Ls3-5A. I got a pair of spenders, yeah, the trusty old spenders. Not really a pair now, but I got one. My first pair. So, just a really quick check. SCM. So if you take a look, just take a look slightly, you should be able to see it's 1 cm, 1.2 cm, sort of, yeah. So, excuse me. If you take a real close look, do you see the corner? There's a slight line over here. Yep, you should be able to see it. So the thing is, this is how you make the Ls3 5As. You've got 4 panels, and you try to cut them in an angle and glue them. But the thing is, yeah, the Ls3 5, their cabinets are different. I'll be using the Spencer Hughes Ls3 5s as an example. So basically, from his speakers, we could see that the Ls3 5 is actually using a really so-called classic cabinet for speakers. It uses 2 complete 9.5 mm plywood, as said. But thing is, here's the catch: they cut around a half or even more of this little corner. It would be better here. Of this little corner, the speaker cabinet, and then they slip plywood on top of it instead of doing this little fine cut. So yeah, it's just a fun fact, and I need to thank Thierry Hans krijger. He's from the Netherlands. He's a good lad. I mean, I'm going to buy tomorrow his crossovers for the Ls3 5. Speaking of which, I'd like to share the crossover with you. So, when I speak of the crossover, I need to thank Paul Whatton, of course, from the Ls3 5A support site, and yeah, Thierry Hans krijger. So yeah, both of them are good lads, and you should definitely talk to them given the chance, because yeah, they know a lot. Yeah, Thierry has a company in the Netherlands doing like speaker stuff. So yeah, hello, shout out to him. Don't really know, but I don't really know if it's the best to show this photo. You know what? I'll just skip it. Not because I got a Stevens Workshop like from Hong Kong, his crossover look, but I don't really know if it's copyrighted, so leave it. So if you see here, the most distinct features you'd recognize is this is actually called the FL6/16 crossover. And the Ls3 actually uses the FL6/23 crossover. So the most distinct feature is you've got 2 resistors only, but for the FL623, you've actually got 4 resistors, and the amount of capacitors is like quite different. Yeah, if you notice, Spence Hughes himself, he also used like the white belly, so-called white belly B110s. It's like mid era B110s. So there's a little cross here you could see. So basically, the difference of the FL6/16 versus the FL6/23 is the crossovers, and of course this. So I'm gonna give you a quick. Do I have it? No. I'm gonna give you a quick run over. So the value of this. Yeah, shout out to Paul Whatton again, because he helped me out a lot, and Thierry too. And these are like the inductors we know. They have to be transformer based to create that distinct LS35 family sound. So don't use air cores, please. Just don't. Maybe 11 ohms, but we're doing traditional stuff. This is the value of this is 1.15 milli. I don't really know millihenry, is it? Let's stick to mH. If I weren't wrong, this is 2.67 mH. This didn't really change. And this we actually don't. None of us actually knows, but apparently we settled on 0.3 mH. By this time this video's out, probably it's gonna change. I mean, people know lots of stuff. Yeah, and this is a 27 ohm resistor, and this is a 33 ohm resistor. Yeah, I'm gonna put the circuitry on the comments. No, not really comments, but down below. 6.8, 6.8, 6.8 UF, is it? Yeah, UF. Let's settle for UF. Capacitors, and they're Phillips. Yeah, this is Payton and this is Welwyn, but I'd say it's hard for you to access any Payton's resistors, so stick to Welwyn. I mean, they make good stuff. This is 3.3, is it? Yeah, it's presumably 3.3, and this is 0.68 UF. And these two are German. These two are German Wimar 1 UF capacitors and 160 volts. Yeah. Thing is, you'll need around, if I weren't wrong, 10 watts here, and yeah, probably 10 watts here too. I mean, probably more. Yeah, that's what I actually know by now. I mean, because yeah, and it's by this time, it's still not known if the LS35's dampening, internal dampening. We don't actually really know what's inside, because it's not really well documented. But I presume by this time, that it's only foam, because if you go to the unofficial LS35A like support site, it says since the transfer of like units, they changed the crossover to it produced a lip-C, so-called lip-C high. So it's like, yeah, lip-C high, and is it boomy lows? But anyway, the bass doesn't sound like it does. It should. So basically, they changed the crossovers values, and you have the FL6/33, and yeah, I presume they actually hyped up the so-called dampening with bitumen pads, the ones you use on boats, on cars. So I think I'd try building my LS35s without the bitumen pads first, and I'll keep on track with you guys. Is it over? No, it's not over. Interior cable. Okay. Yeah, this one. So, let's say your LS35's well built. It should look something like this. It's actually well documented again in that little document. I'm gonna put it on later, but you could just take a look at my drawings. These are basically in the plan of everything. Yeah, and for any purist out there, I do recommend Thierry Hans Krijger and his company in the Netherlands, like Holland. Netherlands, yeah, they should be the same. And any purists should attempt to use vintage cables of that era made in England. Because the thing is, if you're on that so-called cables aren't important side, I have to debate, because just today I had excuse me. I tested this Japanese wire. I mean, it's just some wire with Western Electric wires. And actually, when I did this resistance test, like capacitance test first, the capacitance tests, both of them weren't really significant, so we got nothing. But thing is, the resistance tests, it's weird because actually the Western Electric one has got less resistance. And when I used the microscope to take a look at the so-called patterns on the cable, like copper surface, the Western Electric one has some, although enameled, has some distinct, you could see the lines going to and fro. I don't know if it's like copper, what's the word? Copper crystals or something. But let's say it's just different. It's just different. Any more important points? Let me think. Aha, yeah. Again, you ought to be a purist by trying to use beech plywood, because the BBC actually had a document stating that any change to wood would actually would give a coloration because of its density. And let me think. Yeah, you could use solid core, or like solid core or what's that? Multi-core cable, but try to stick to copper, because coloration again. Try to stick to like copper. And that's pretty much it. Any questions you could ask me down below, comments, subscribe, you kid down the block. Yeah, if it's more advanced questions, you probably stick to like Paul Whatton. I mean, he's the big lad. And if you want to buy decent crossovers, I mean like quality crossovers, let's be generous here, quality crossovers without overpricing, with someone that's handling stuff that he knows, stick to Thierry Hans Krijger, because he makes definitely good crossovers. I'm Ethan from Hong Kong and here in Warwick School. See you in a bit.